Friday edition of Schein Time. UConn versus St. John's for the Big East final feels inevitable. And it's awesome. And I have a strong take on who would win. Selection Sunday coming up this weekend. We have a Schein 9 ranking the teams who can eventually cut down the nets. The Dodgers are a beautiful baseball machine, better than ever. Haters just going to have to deal. And it's officially time to raise the bar on the New York Football Giants. It's Schein Time, and it starts right now.
Don't stop. Keep it coming, baby. Don't stop.
Kyler Murray is officially the new man on the Minnesota Vikings. Thank you, Lizzo. This is a perfect marriage, and I think that Kyler Murray is going to not only be the starting quarterback for Minnesota, forget about J.J. McCarthy, he's going to be the starring quarterback. And I think that Kyler Murray, with Kevin O'Connell calling the plays and the head coach with the Minnesota Vikings, and the best wide receiver in the NFL, our guy Justin Jefferson, I believe Kyler Murray is going to lead the Minnesota Vikings to the playoffs. Look, people say you always try to find the next Sam Darnold. You couldn't find Sam Darnold Jets highlights. We had our entire staff going through all the different highlights for Kyler Murray when he was in Arizona, because he was a terrific and dynamic player when he was available, which to me is part of the deal. One of the reasons why he's an ex-Arizona Cardinal is because he was never able to stay on the field. Then, of course, it was the work ethic questions, right? With regards to the clause and the contract, and more interested in playing Call of Duty than studying for the game film for, the game coming up against the Rams or the Seahawks or the 49ers. And, the old general manager, the great Steve Keim, put that clause in, well, you got to study X amount of hours of film. Now, being fair, Kyler Murray under Jonathan Gannon the last few years actually became the captain, well respected. There were no issues and questions about his work ethic. And listen, you look at the passing touchdowns, you look at the rushing touchdowns, the passing yards, the rushing yards, he obviously can play. And the reason it's a no-brainer in Minnesota, it's a one-year deal, and he's going to get $1.3 million, and the Arizona Cardinals are going to pay the rest of the $36.8 million freight. So it makes a lot of sense. And Minnesota was desperate, and Kyler was desperate, and they need each other, and there's a clause in the contract. They're not going to give him the franchise tag, which means he's going to be playing to not only win, he's playing for his next contract. And if he's going to be motivated, that's an amazing thing for the Minnesota Vikings. Look, I think Minnesota, what they did last year, the worst example of how to handle the quarterback position I've ever seen. And you have to forget about J.J. McCarthy, and they needed to forget about that when they had Sam Darnold. I love the draft. I live for the draft. I talk draft all the time. We're going to talk draft all the time on Schein Time. But there's a hypothetical we don't know wait and see quotient attached. It's a lottery ticket in a lot of ways. J.J. McCarthy before the 2024 season, and I loved him at Michigan. I loved the draft pick. He got hurt, so you have to adjust. And Sam Darnold was phenomenal. He won 14 games. And I first guessed it. They should have re-signed him. They failed. They should have brought in and signed Daniel Jones. I had Kevin O'Connell on my SiriusXM radio show. He said, I feel the same way about Daniel Jones I did Darnold the year before. And Jones left. And they should have signed Aaron Rodgers. They didn't do that. They're bringing Sam Howell. That was a disaster. Carson Wentz, that was a disaster. McCarthy wasn't confident, couldn't play, couldn't stay healthy. All of it. And they fired the general manager, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, as a result. I think this team is loaded. Jefferson's amazing. They have big-time talent at the wide receiver and tight end position. Brian Flores does a great job coaching the defense. Take a look at the odds when it comes to ultimately winning the division. I'm telling you right now, bang the Vikings. In fact, I think this is beyond the theater of the absurd. I would currently rank it Bears, Vikings, Packers, Lions. And last year at this time, I told everybody Lions had no chance of making the playoffs. And they didn't. So I was light years ahead of the curve, okay? I think the Vikings have a ton of talent. I think Kyler Murray is going to have a monster year. I still favor the Chicago Bears in the division. But look, they've got a lot of money. tied up with a lot of players. Justin Jefferson, for my money, not last year, where with that quarterback carousel and clown show, but Justin Jefferson is still the best wide receiver in the NFL. Better than my guy Jackson Smith-Njigba, better than Puka Nacua, better than Jamar Chase. Anyone else you want to throw at me? So yes, this is a marriage of desperation. It's a marriage of convenience, but I think it's going to work out brilliantly for Kyler Murray and for Kevin O'Connell. Look, I didn't like the Kyler Murray draft pick, and I was right. When the Cardinals made it in 2019, I would have picked Nick Bosa. You know, I've stood next to Kyler Murray. I'm 5'10". I weigh 178. You know, I'm taller than Kyler. I weigh more than Kyler. I usually like my quarterbacks a little stronger, right? I don't like them to have my physique, right? But he can flat out play. I think that he knows this is last chance saloon for him, and I think this is going to work out brilliantly and magically for the Minnesota Vikings for this season. From football to the NBA, move over Wilt Chamberlain. SGA has now scored at least 20 per game in 127 consecutive regular season games. Here's what he had to say about passing the legend.
None of the things I accomplished would matter if we weren't winning, and I probably wouldn't have most of them if we weren't winning. And I know that, understand that. It's why you play the game. Like, I was crying when I was 9 years old because I lost an OBA championship. Like, you don't want to lose as a kid. You don't want to lose as a grown man. Like, when you play and you're competitive, that's all that matters. And that's what the game is to me, the game I love. Just trying to go out there and win and do everything I can to win. And the streak is the streak, the awards the awards, but the most thing I'm proud of is winning. Yeah, over the years, I've just built my game, seen defenses, and I just attack the defenses with the tools I have. I like to think, it feels like at least each year I get better and better at doing so, and I think that's the reason. I just see coverages, learn from them, try to get better, and apply them.
I'll never understand SGA hates. I don't get it. I think that SGA is an unbelievable player. It drives me nuts when I hear free throw merchants. I mean, please. Look, I love SGA. I live for Jalen Brunson as a diehard Knicks fan. Similar kind of approach, right? And whenever you move past Wilt Chamberlain in anything, how could anyone hate? I mean, this is unbelievable. 20 points per game, 127 straight. This is as remarkable a streak as it gets. I mean, Wilt obviously an all-time player, all-time skilled big, and he's down low and he's scoring at will against inferior defenders. I mean, this is everything. Look at the names on the list. I mean, we're talking about Wilt twice. We're talking about Oscar and Kevin Durant. And SGA, 127 straight. My goodness. And by the way, you see that on the bottom in red? It's over. Minus 800 to win the win the NBA MVP, and that obviously is everything when you look at it here. I mean, Victor Wembanyama's had a great season, but it's over. It is absolutely positively over. And I think people need to realize just how special and how great this is. You know, everyone likes to hate on SGA. You don't like his style, gets to the free throw line. Even Jaylen Brown was complaining, didn't mention him by name. Oh, he gets all the calls. You know, I hate that certain players get all the calls. That was a close competitive game last night. OKC won. And here's the deal. And I know Jason Tatum didn't play last night, and we hit it. You know, we always have what we're betting on at the end of every edition of Schein Time. We told you to take Boston with the points. You're welcome. That was a close and competitive game, and another example that OKC is winning a title. I mean, as a diehard Knicks fan, I'm watching that game last night. I'm saying, okay, Knicks are great. They're not on this level. They can't beat OKC, as simple as that. You know, I love the Spurs. Look, they're not winning a chip this year. It's very rare in the NBA throughout history that you see a team go at the end of the day from not making the playoffs to winning a title. And really, at this stage, right, who else would you back? I mean, they have the right teams. I would kind of tweak the order a little bit. Frankly, I'd put the Knicks fourth on that list, but I can't bank on Boston. I can't bank on the Spurs. By the way, the Thunder aren't even 100% yet. Isaiah's hurt, Hartenstein's hurt, you know, Jalen's hurt, Williams is out. This is a big deal here, and the Thunder right now are a dynasty and a juggernaut. And they drafted developed, made the right trades. I don't know why so many people are so angry. Look, SGA is a gem. I love watching him play. The Thunder do it right. You know, people were bored by the Warriors, not me. I will always say Kevin Durant is a champion because I know this because I won championships and I love dynasties and I love greatness in sports. I'm sick and tired of the SGA OKC slander. Not on my watch. You could color me obsessed with what SGA is doing night in, night out. And last night, man, that was special. From the NBA to the college game, Danny Hurley has to pony up $25K for his ejection at the end of UConn's last loss, but he told reporters he may have some unlikely help flipping the bill.
When you have a coaching staff that just cares so much about the sport, I mean, you want to just do anything you can to win. So,
if I could just add to that too, just the type of young men that I coach. I mean, these guys too. I mean, they actually offered to pay parts of the fine. I mean, there were men raising, right? You remember that? How nice of a moment was that? Now, obviously, it'd be illegal, I think. So I couldn't accept it. But there were guys raising their hand. I'll give 1,000. I'll give 500. I mean, 2,500. It was a.
We're done.
We're done.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
I love Dan Hurley, one of my favorite coaches in all of sports, one of my favorite guys. And listen, he was working the room last night, no question about it. And yucks and jokes aside, we are on a delicious collision course with UConn and St. John's in the Big East Tournament Finals, Madison Square Garden, stone's throw from our studios here in New York City. And I can't wait for it. I live for the Big East Tournament. It's one of the great events when you look at, New York sports, national sports, the energy, the passion, the history. You feel like all the ghosts awaken. It's really cool. And, UConn's amazing. St. John's is amazing. Both have incredible fan bases that flood Madison Square Garden. Now, there are games tonight before we get, obviously, to the championship on Saturday. UConn, Georgetown, St. John's, Seton Hall. You see the bracket right there. And the Garden is going to be rocking tonight. Now, it is interesting here when you look at it. I think that UConn is winning it. And I know that we've seen St. John's play brilliantly. St. John's is the 1 seed. We had Rick Pitino on our first ever Schein Time. If you remember, we talked to Rick about the UConn game. I know they split in the regular season, but that game, the way that UConn played, they smothered them. I just think that Dan Hurley is so incredible. I think that he is absolutely remarkable. I think that he is sensational. And honestly, at the end of the day, I really think that when you look at it, their defense, their tenacity, it's too much. I just think that by a hair, UConn is better. Now, when they played at UConn, and that was a 40-point game, look, that was a non-competitive sporting event. I would be surprised if we saw a duplicate of that coming up on Saturday night at Madison Square Garden. And by the way, if it sounds like I'm just giving both automatic wins tonight, good. I am. I don't think there's a shot that UConn or St. John's lose. I don't think there's a shot with their, the Hall of Fame coach for St. John's and the sure-to-be Hall of Fame coach in UConn and Danny Hurley. There's no chance they ultimately lose tonight. There's 0% chance, okay? Not a prayer, not even an inkling that that'll happen. So I think they're going to meet on Saturday night, and I think UConn is going to win again. I just think that St. John's offense isn't good enough going up against UConn's defense. The way the Huskies played in that game, I mean, the Johnnies couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. I think it'll be more of the same coming up, a low-scoring kind of rock fight, a fun game, crowd going nuts. I expect UConn to win the Big East tournament, and I think UConn is going to make a deep run when it comes to March Madness. Meanwhile, Miami of Ohio coach Travis Steele hasn't had to address the media after a loss an entire calendar year until Thursday.
It is what it is, man. I told our group, listen, our journey's still going to continue. This isn't the end of it. It's not the goal and not what we wanted to do, obviously. One of our goals was to win the MAC tournament championship, and unfortunately we're not going to be able to do that because we couldn't get past UMass. The outside noise has been there all year with our group, right? The whole year. And the media loves to portray things certain ways. We're just going to stick together. We got to become even tighter. more together in these moments. And our group will. We always respond the right way, man. Big events call for big responses. So we'll move on, kind of decompress because obviously very emotional in the locker room after a loss. One of our goals was obviously to win the MAC tournament championship, and the only way you do that is you got to win game one, right? But again, it doesn't take away from the journey we've had. Because I know, like, in this world, everybody gets caught up in results. That's all the world wants. That's all they talk about. But then when we are at 31-0, then everybody's talking about, oh, everything else matters, right? People contradict themselves all the time. And for us, man, I only care about the journey, and the results will take care of themselves. So just got to move on quickly, and we'll see where what our future holds.
So I love that from Travis Steele, and he was taking the high road, and, you know, I thought he was pointed, but wasn't campaigning, right? He was trying to let the results at the end of the day speak for themselves. I mean, 31-0 in the regular season is 31-0 in the regular season. Now, when you have so many loud vocal critics saying, well, if they lose and don't win a championship in the conference tournament, they shouldn't be in, and then they lose in the first round against UMass, well, that's going to be, you know, just a cry for help at the end of the day. I do think, if you take a deep breath, Miami of Ohio should get in. And part of the deal is this. The bottom of the bracket stinks. It's awful. Like, who are you going to bang the drum for? Texas? VCU? Oklahoma? It's a disaster when you look at it. What I would love to see, and with all the Bruce Pearl talking about his son Stevens' team in Auburn, I mean, can we get Miami of Ohio going up against, at the end of the day, Auburn in a play-in game now on Tuesday or Wednesday? That would be incredible theater and drama and ratings, and that would be off the charts and buzzworthy, which would be unbelievable. You know, Frank Martin coaches UMass, and, you know, he's not a wallflower in any way, shape, or form. And he said unequivocally, that Miami of Ohio should get in, and the MAC is a two-bid kind of league. And I tend to take a breath, especially with all these bubble teams. I mean, Indiana's cooked, losing against Northwestern. I don't even want to hear them on, you know, a team that should be even in the mix for March. You want to tell me that they wouldn't have been undefeated? They're in another conference? Obviously. But you go on what you see, and I just think it would be one of those burn it all down if Miami of Ohio doesn't go and you see, you know, some 13, 14 loss team from a bigger conference ultimately go. So, look, I also think that when the coach was talking about protecting the one seed, obviously that's something that the MAC needs to look at. All these conferences do when you look at how at the end of the day, you know, teams ultimately go and ultimately don't. But I never want to hear about tournament expansion. That is a non-starter. So many bad teams. You have to give these kind of mid-majors at least a chance. I wish they would have at least won the first game. The MAC didn't do them any kind of favors in any way, shape, or form. But because of how dreadful, I mean, you know, we're arguing about NC State. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for me on Monday, unless Miami of Ohio gets screwed, to sit here and start yelling about the tournament committee and whether or not they got it right or wrong in the field. Which is why, if you want to have credibility when it comes to the regular season and have it even go beyond the big conferences, the big markets, I think when it's all said and done, everybody takes a breath. Miami of Ohio will go. Miami of Ohio should go. Now, what I love, obviously, is Selection Sunday. And I love the passion and the drama and the matchups and everything that goes into the mix. And I get supremely excited about watching the brackets revealed on CBS and, you know, watching to see who's going to go where and who's in, who's out, and who's seeded where and who gets the right seed and who gets the wrong seed, which is why I always like to do this exercise of ranking the teams who could win it all before the brackets. So this way, when you fill out your bracket, and we're going to give you our picks and our upset specials and, you know, who we like against the spread and underdogs and double-digit seeds, you know, obviously everyone gets nuts and hot and heavy and fast and furious. It's always important, I think, to kind of see the forest through the trees on who you kind of trust going into Selection Sunday, and then matchup dependent, you know, and see who gets screwed in a certain region or a team's fan base. Then you can adjust accordingly. So, here on Schein Time, we love ranking things. And we're going to give you our first Schein 9 here on Schein Time. Topic is Schein 9 for teams with the ability to ultimately cut down the nets. And number 9, we'll go in reverse order, might be a little controversial, Kansas. And let me also do a little explaining here for you, a little backdrop. I think Bill Self is the most overrated coach in the history of college basketball. I've said that before. I've backed it up. I can give you hours upon hours of the argument. So many times in the NCAA tournament, he has been a monster favorite in Vegas. He's been the better seed, and his teams have failed, right? I know he's won a couple championships. I know he's got a great winning percentage. But this year, I'll make the case, Bill Self has actually done his best coaching job. Seriously. He's had to coach 2 different teams, one with Darren Peterson and one without. So I'm going to have an educated guess that Peterson is going to want to play. I mean, it shouldn't have to be framed that way or phrased that way. But, we're talking about the number 1 or number 2 pick in the draft. And I think that, Kansas has done an excellent job when he's actually given a damn. What a concept. I think the rest of the players have been strong. The conference play has been excellent. Quad 1 wins. I think because of Peterson and because of the way Self has coached this year, I think Kansas has a real shot to win 3-4 plus games in the NCAA tournament. Number 8, St. John's. I'm telling you, I really like St. John's. Rick Pitino obviously is a legend. He's won championships. He's done a fabulous job with the Johnnies. I think last year's team was better, but I think this year's team, we'll see what seed they get. I think they're going to end up getting a 4. I think that this year's team might be more equipped for a run, especially when you look at their chemistry, the guard play, the way Darling has played. Zuby is the player of the year. He's so great on defense, his effort, his rebounding. And I just trust Pitino, right? Like I don't trust Bill Self in the NCAA tournament, except for this year, for the reasons we documented. Pitino's the best when it comes to the NCAAs and how to navigate those choppy waters. He's done it everywhere he's been. I think St. John's has a real chance to make a march this March. Number 7 on the list, I'm going Gonzaga. Now, normally, I would tell a producer for my show, cut my mic. Or if I'm filling out a bracket, steal my pen. Because every year I fail filling out a bracket because I take Gonzaga too far. I picked them to win that championship with Suggs. I mean, I'm obsessed with Gonzaga basketball, and Mark Few has done an unbelievable job. This is not a vintage Gonzaga team, but they're so tough, they're so clutch. And again, you start talking about coaches you trust. Few is that guy to me. I'm going to go with Gonzaga, number 7 on my list. Number 6, Houston. I love Houston. I think Sharp is an unbelievable player. I think Sampson knows what he's doing. I think this team has learned some valuable lessons this year. They've played big and played tough in big spots. Look, I wouldn't even be surprised if Kansas beat them today, to be honest with you. But I just think that Houston is that kind of team that can get hot at the right time, matchup dependent. I will put them number 6 on my Schein 9. Number 5 is UConn, and I think the world of Dan Hurley. I think he is going to the Hall of Fame. I think that he's a fabulous coach, won a championship a couple of times. Caravan's great. Their defense is just lights out. The way Hurley runs offensive sets, I mean, it's clinic worthy. It's life-changing if you're a UConn fan. And the backcourt play is excellent. The way they smother teams, that aforementioned game against St. John's, the way they just absolutely crushed them, punked them, stole their soul. The way they bounce back from games, what happened against Marquette, and then you saw what they did yesterday in the Big East tournament. I just think Danny Hurley always has these guys ready. So I'm going to put UConn, number 5, on the list. Number 4, Florida. I mean, I think that Todd Golden is fabulous. And I think you could make a case that Florida has actually been the best team in college basketball since the calendar flipped to 2026. Like, they got off to a bit of a slow start. The way that they have just trucked cats this year has been ridiculously impressive. Obviously, Golden has that experience. They play in a great conference. I'm going to go with Florida, number 4. Number 3, Arizona. I think the world of Tommy Lloyd. I love their bigs. They're so strong down low. They maul teams. Their defense, their rebounding, their shooting percentages off the charts. The way they just maul the competition. I think they're going to club Iowa State today. I think that Arizona is a terrific team. I put Arizona on that tier, right? We talked to Jim Boeheim about this yesterday on Schein Time. Florida, Arizona, and my other two teams, they are on a separate tier when it comes to teams that could ultimately cut down the nets. Number two, Michigan. Brilliantly coached. Justin May's unbelievable. I think the world of him as a coach. And I know Michigan's in a battle with Ohio State and in that game that was going on earlier today in the conference tournament. Listen, go back to the Duke game that was at a neutral site in Washington, D.C., in a make-or-miss league, right? They were missing open shots. I think that, frankly, Michigan hits those shots. They win that game, and maybe, in the eyes of people, it's kind of different in terms of the feel around Michigan basketball. Dusty's fantastic, and I think that Michigan has a real shot with their core principles, the way they play defense. This is a terrific, terrific team that you can bank on and bet on during the NCAA tournament. And number one is Duke. And I saw what happened last night, and I was watching the game, and truth be told, and I know I'm doing this segment, and I'm prepping it, I'm ready, I thought that Florida State 3 was going in last night. Thankfully for Duke, that didn't happen. I still think the Blue Devils are the best. I think that Shire is finally going to get it done this year. I think Boozer is the best player in college basketball, going to win the Naismith. I love Brown. I think he's incredible. And even with a couple of key injuries, I think the guys who step up, replace them. At the end of the day, honestly, it's just, we're talking about all pros. We're talking about, all Americans. We're talking about guys with unbelievable talent. And when you watch Duke play, there's an art to it. Like, go back to, a couple Sundays ago against UVA. UVA is a top 12 team in the country. They made them look like little leaguers, like amateurs. What they've done against North Carolina. I know it's, not different North Carolina year this year, but they just stomped them, after they had that game earlier in the season. The way that they just maul teams, win any style of fight, it's ridiculously impressive. And to me, when you get that kind of close call in March in a conference tournament, that lets John Shire kind of just get everyone's focus again. And I think that Duke is going to win a title. And when we reconvene on Monday, I absolutely am going to take Duke. Barring anything unforeseen from an injury perspective, I will take Duke to win a championship. So we're going to go Duke in order, 1 through 9. Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Florida, UConn, Houston, Gonzaga, St. John's, Kansas. My first Shine 9 here on Shine Time. 9 teams that could win it all in college basketball. From college hoops to the NFL, we're talking Big Blue. And John Harbaugh, whose Giants career began with him letting everyone know he knew the proper way to say the name of his new team.
It's a profound honor to be entrusted with the responsibility of coaching the New York Football Giants. And my dad taught me that they were the New York Football Giants. They weren't just the Giants, they were the New York Football Giants, right, Dad? All the way back. One of the most iconic franchises in all of sports.
Ah, yes. When we're in the white chair, it means it's a topic that is white chair worthy. And every single time I hear that soundbite from John Harbaugh talking about the New York Football Giants, I get the chills. Finally, there is an adult in the room. John Harbaugh's won a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh's winning percentage is off the charts. A John Harbaugh coach team is buttoned up, buckled up, ready to fight, ready to win. John Harbaugh, if he never coached another game in the NFL, has a resume worthy of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And now he's coaching the Giants. And that means, because these are John Harbaugh's New York Football Giants, it's okay for Giants fans to have giant expectations. For the last 10 years, the Giants have been a disaster. They have been a clown show. The Giants have been the Jets. Let's be clear. The Giants have been a punching bag, a laughing stock, a complete and utter joke. That all changed as you're looking at it right here at John Harbaugh's introductory press conference. There is a new sheriff, a real sheriff, a legit sheriff in town. The Giants have not been void of talent. I think that has been a myth recently. The Giants' defensive line and pass rush is legit. The Giants have the elements, what it takes to be a successful team, a playoff team in 2026. Over the last 10 years, and specifically over the last few, the Giants have been not only awful and atrocious, they've been an eyesore, an unwatchable, unmitigated disaster. You have to shudder and shake when you watch the Giants play. No offense, no oomph, no toughness, no ability to close games in the fourth quarter. Those days are done. Take a look at what the Giants have done this offseason. It's kind of perfect. They made sure the right tackle came back. I am obsessed with John Harbaugh picking the players. Former Ravens, Isaiah Likely, who's going to be a big-time target. I love his talents. Jordan Stouts, a terrific punter. Special teams matters. I think that bringing in Tremaine Edmonds is one of the best signings that any team made in the entire offseason. I was obsessed with Calvin Austin to replace Wan'Dale Robinson. Cheaper and arguably better. And listen, I'm giving Harbaugh credit for signing the former Ravens. Obviously, he coached against someone like Calvin Austin over the last few years during all those Ravens and Steelers battles. So he knows what kind of weapon he is, which to me adds proof to the pudding. This is John Harbaugh's team. And this is why you as a fan should absolutely believe. Oh, the Giants have a young stud quarterback. Jackson Dart is him. Jackson Dart has it. Whatever it is by any single measuring stick, this cat has it. The moxie, the athleticism, the arm strength, the accuracy. I love the appointment of Matt Nagy as the offensive coordinator. I talked to my friend Kyle Long, who played for him in Chicago, and he thought he was just a brilliant offensive mind. And I think the same. And you look at what he's done with quarterbacks, and he's obviously been a head coach before and mentored quarterbacks. It's perfect. And we're now talking about year two. Year one for rookie quarterbacks, at times they can be chaotic. You have the draft process. Obviously, you have the combine. You know, you're kind of drinking through a garden hose. It's at a fire hose. It's kind of crazy. I thought Brian Daboll completely botched Dart last year. I would have played him in the second half of week one against Washington, then started him against Dallas, then started him against Kansas City. But I digress. Or I say it with a point. Now you have someone who can handle Jackson Dart, who can maximize Jackson Dart, who won't be afraid to tell Jackson Dart because he has the it factor and all the ability. You need to have availability. You need to stay healthy. You need to know when to say when. You need to know when to get out of bounds. And I'm excited here about, ready for this, Jackson Dart throwing to Malik Neighbors with Cam Scatterboot coming back. I think the offensive line is solid. I love the ability for Likely to catch passes. And I think there should be an unbelievable confidence here when it comes to the fifth pick in the draft. There are two names. It's Caleb Downs and it's Jeremiah Love. Look, I think Jeremiah Love, after Fernando Mendoza, is the second best player in this draft. And I was talking to Daniel Jeremiah from the NFL Network, who is the best in the business when it comes to draft scouting and being a draft analyst. And listen, he has Love, second best player in this draft. So if the Giants get him at 5, just know it's with a point and a purpose because he's a Harbaugh pick. And I talked to Jeremiah Love on my SiriusXM radio show. He compared himself to Jahmyr Gibbs. I love it, and I agree with it. And listen, I don't care if it's the 5th overall pick. If you can get someone like Jahmyr Gibbs with that kind of speed and sizzle, listen, that would be amazing for the Giants. Normally you don't draft a running back that high. You don't draft a safety that high. Look, it's a weird draft. Giants pick 5. Loves that special, and so is Caleb Downs. Talked to Matt Patricia on my SiriusXM radio show. Obviously, he was a former head coach in the NFL, longtime excellent assistant coach in the NFL. He's the Ohio State defensive coordinator. I mean, he loves Caleb Downs. And he said, and I'm going to give you the comparison, Caleb Downs is a combination of Devin McCourty and Troy Polamalu. That's what he said. He said he doesn't like to do comparisons, but that was what he said with regards to Caleb Downs, and I get it. An intelligent, dominant, Swiss Army knife. Again, normally in drafts, you don't take a safety 5th overall. Forget about that. I don't care about, drafts in the 1980s. I don't care about any of that garbage and nonsense. The Giants need playmakers and dudes on both sides of the ball. And someone like Downs, who, to me, was the single best defensive player in all of college football for a dynamite team last year, he would be amazing playing in New York. And here's the deal at the end of the day. Love, Downs, there's trust. There's an adult in the room. John Harbaugh and the New York Football Giants, I believe, are going to win 8 to 10 games this year. I expect it. I demand it. You should too, because I know that's what the head coach absolutely believes. Ah, yes, the sights and sounds of spring. I got to tell you, I just feel good when I see Shohei Ohtani on the bump. That means it's officially baseball season, and that means it's his time to shine. And I am so fired up about Team USA and Canada tonight. And listen, simple math. You would think that Mark DeRosa knows the deal. Maybe get him some of that Team Italy espresso, that at the end of the day, it is going to be a win or go home game. All these games are now single elimination for all these teams for the rest of the tournament. And look, they better win it all. See, this is something that needs to be stressed here, right? As Webb takes the mound for the Team USA squad tonight. And I think that USA is going to win. And did I put a couple of bucks on Bryce Harper? Because, obviously we destroyed Mark DeRosa for not playing Bryce Harper because he clearly didn't know that it was a game that they had to win. Do I think that Bryce Harper will be in the lineup tonight? Yes. Do I think he's going to hit a home run tonight? Yes. Did I put, $1 on DraftKings, a plus 365 for Bryce Harper to go yard tonight? Yes. You better win. Simple as that. I mean, it's USA versus Canada. I mean, where have I heard that before? So you got to follow ultimately what you knew from, Jack Hughes. Be inspired. He talked to the team, what Team USA did in men's hockey. Look, I think that Judge has a big game. Harper has a big game. Schwarber has a big game. And I've got a lot of trust in Webb tonight. I think he's one of the most underrated hurlers in all of Major League Baseball. I think Bobby Witt, who's built for this, I think he comes to play tonight. I think Team USA, and they've heard all the negativity, all the slander, all the conversation, all the rightful ripping at Mark DeRosa. Look, I think Team USA destroys Canada tonight. I really do. I think that they are going to absolutely just knock them out of the tournament. I think that this is going to be fun on social media, and I would be stunned if it didn't happen. Lopsided game. I think Team USA absolutely takes care of business. Meanwhile, it's going to be baseball season for Major League Baseball coming up in a hot minute. And that means it is Schein Time for the LA Dodgers. And I want to let you in on a little secret on how I feel about the LA Dodgers. They are a gorgeous, beautiful baseball machine. I am LA Dodgers obsessed. I love the players. I love the roster. I love Andrew Freeman. I love ownership. I love my guy Dave Roberts, who's going into the Hall of Fame. Blah, 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 yada, 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 on all the noise and the naysayers and the haters. Look, just means you're jealous. The Dodgers spend brilliantly. They spend appropriately. They see a problem, they fix a problem. How about the back page of the California Post? I was obsessed with this today because the Dodgers haters, you need to understand, are going to be even better this year. I thought the back page of the California Post was absolutely positively perfect today, and they have just tremendous back pages on the California Post. I love that picture of Freddie Freeman. I love that picture of Mookie Betts. I am obsessed with what the Dodgers are going to bring to the table. You got to remember, they won the championship last year, and Mookie Betts didn't have a vintage year. I think Mookie Betts is one of the 5 best all-around players. They saw a problem, they fixed the problem with Kyle Tucker. Guys, leave this on the screen for a second, okay? I just want everyone to understand how awesome this is. Shohei Ohtani is the most talented player in the history of baseball. He's a freak. He's a unicorn. Bag it, Babe Ruth. I mean, Ruth never did this kind of stuff as a pitcher and a hitter. Kyle Tucker. I'm a jealous Yankee fan. I wanted him in the worst possible way. Listen, Kyle Tucker, I mean, he is a mean you-know-what. Mookie Betts is one of the 5 best players in the game. Freddie Freeman's going to have a better regular season. Will Smith is underrated, always getting jiggy with it. Max Muncy, that funky Muncy. I'm obsessed. Teoscar Hernandez. Look, I love this guy in Toronto. Loved him the year he spent in Seattle. He is a tremendous, prodigious slugger, and he's tough and clutch when it matters. Paez is great. I'm just obsessed with this baseball team. I just love Edmund. I love the roster. I love the roster configuration. I love the rotation. Yamamoto, Glasnow, this was reported when you look at it in the California Post. Glasnow is having a tremendous spring and unbelievable, on tap for an unbelievable season. I mean, Blake Snell isn't even healthy right now, and it doesn't matter. Not to mention, they signed Edwin Diaz, which was a major fail by the New York Mets, the fact that they let him go. And I don't want to hear, oh, that's just about money. Please, it's the Mets we're talking about. They can spend whatever they want to spend. So to me, the Dodgers are great for baseball. By the way, the World Baseball Classic, everybody's watching. Everybody's paying attention. It's a great appetizer for the upcoming Major League Baseball season. Rob Manfred, who I will criticize often, did a great job over the last couple of years. Pitch clock, getting rid of the shift, and the trade deadline, there's more juice. October baseball ratings are through the roof. Look, I'm not naive to a potential work stoppage. I think the owners at the bottom, much worse than the owners at the top. I mean, there should be a salary floor in Major League Baseball. There's a lot of problems in baseball. The A's have a problem. The Pirates have a problem. The Twins are a problem. The Rays, the Marlins. We could go through the Colorado Rockies. They're an embarrassment to professional sports. We could start naming all these teams. The Dodgers? No. Dodgers are beautiful. Dodgers are amazing. Dodgers are what you love when it comes to sports. Everyone's entitled to an opinion. If you disagree with this one, you're wrong. Let's get back to the NFL, to San Francisco, where one of their newest guys talks about why he's the guy to take the 49ers back to the promised land.
A team that always compete, even with the injuries last year. I think they went 13-4. I mean, I feel like they were one piece away, and I think that I'm that piece. And I look forward to coming here and proving that.
Ah, yes. Mike Evans is without question the missing piece to the San Francisco 49ers. And if you don't believe me, ask him. He'll be the first one to tell you, as he obviously did. So I want to have some fun today with a little ranking of, to me, the top 5 most impactful moves when it comes to the first week of the offseason. It could be trades, it could be free agency. You know, 1 year ago at this time, I said that the most impactful move was Davante Adams when he went to the Rams, and I was right. I put Sam Darnold number 2 on that list, and I was right. And number 1 on that list, and again, Mike Evans will be the first one to tell you, is Mike Evans. That, to me, is the most perfect marriage. Mike Evans has a ton of gas left in the tank, fills a monster area of need for this football team. They needed a true number 1 receiver. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And by the way, if you don't think that he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, you just weren't paying attention in Tampa Bay. I think the world of Mike Evans. I think he's a star. I think he's a stud. He wants that kind of heat and spotlight. You heard that soundbite right there. He wants the attention. He wants people to realize he's the missing piece. He's the missing link. You could color me obsessed with this move and the impact it's going to have here on the San Francisco 49ers, a team that was besieged by injuries a year ago, and now I think they are going to be ready to shine for this upcoming season. Right now, I would rank San Francisco as the second best team in the NFC, and the best team would be the Rams, and they have Trent McDuffie, and that's number 2 on my list for most impactful NFL moves so far this offseason. I think McDuffie is a shutdown corner. And I love what Leslie did, Sean McVay did. I was just obsessed. You look at someone like McDuffie, see a problem, fix a problem. Jackson Smith-Njigba is still running. When you take a look at Championship Sunday, they addressed the cornerback position a couple of times with a couple members of the Kansas City Chiefs. McDuffie is one of the best in the business. I can't get enough when you look at it, and I just think that that is as brilliant a move as any, with ramifications for a team in LA that I think is going to represent the NFC in the LA Super Bowl. Number 3 on my list is Tyler Linderbaum. I don't want to hear about the money. I don't want to hear that they overpaid. They had to overpay because of the Raiders tax, right? Listen, I think that Linderbaum is phenomenal. That offensive line was a joke last year. As a result, they ruined Ashton Genty's rookie season. You're going to have Fernando Mendoza as your quarterback. You're going to have Clint Kubiak calling the plays. You're going to have Genty running the football. Linderbaum changes everything here for the Raiders, who I believe, and we've talked about this, with Clint Kubiak having that kind of Ben Johnson effect, with Brock Bowers, with Genty, with Max Crosby coming back and what they did on defense, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders win 8 to 10 games this season. Number 4, Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne going to the New Orleans Saints maybe didn't get the buzz that it deserved because it's the Saints, or, you just were stuck on Etienne playing in Jacksonville. Travis Etienne is a stud. And I'm telling you, in that division, which is weak and wide open, and I love Kellen Moore, who did an excellent job. I love Tyler Shuck, who did an excellent job at quarterback. Etienne does it all. He goes home to Louisiana. I think this was so under the radar. There's no murderer's row team when you look at it. Who's the team to beat in that division? Atlanta? Carolina? I'm still not totally sold. Tampa's gotten worse. I think there's a real shot the Saints shock the world and find a way to win that division. And if they don't, they'll be close, which is why I'm putting Travis Etienne number 4 on that list. And number 5 is Michael Pittman Jr. going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he is a true number 1 wide receiver. He's tough. He's physical. He's built to play in Pittsburgh. I think he's the right guy at the right time for DK Metcalf on the other side, for Mike McCarthy coaching the team, for eventually Aaron Rodgers. I think that the Pittsburgh Steelers, because everyone likes to knock Rodgers, not me, I'm obsessed with Aaron Rodgers. I think people are sleeping on the Steelers. I think McCarthy is going to prove to be an upgrade over, and a different voice in a good way, over what they had for the last few years, as opposed to Mike Tomlin. I think that defense will improve. Pittman's a tone setter, man. I think that's going to be an incredible, impactful move for this upcoming NFL season. Let's end strong.
He's going to play most of it, if not all of it. And the 3 is good. Again, Doncic. Nobody with a hand in his face. Luka with 7 boards and more points. This season. Doncic over Buzelis to score.
Sometimes running into him.
Lob to 8, no, too easy. He thought about it for an instant, and he will take it. Got it! More second chance points because Reeves got the rebound. You thought he'd get to 50.
I thought he'd get a nickel.
You thought he'd get to 50. Here's 3 more. Yes!
Timeout, Chicago.
Oh, baby, how about Luka pumping in 51 last night? Let me tell you something. I am so inspired by the Lakers. Seriously, our guy Kobe Price for the California Post wrote an unbelievable piece on the Lakers and DeAndre Ayton. Go to the California Post website. It is absolutely incredible on DeAndre Ayton being the ultimate X factor. Last night, Luka pumped in 51, Reeves had 30, and LeBron James returned. I know before anyone says to me, well, that's just Chicago. No, that's a big deal because the Lakers had won 3 straights, and Reeves and Doncic, based upon the eyeball test, in addition to the win-loss record, they are better when LeBron hasn't been there. And LeBron last night was brilliant. He was a facilitator. All 5 Lakers were in double figures. Luka was unstoppable. Reeves was unstoppable. The whole thing was just remarkable watching it. And I'm telling you, look at Rui Hachimura. He was awesome. And I think Ayton was so locked in on defense. J.J. Redick couldn't say enough good things. And I know it's easy, and a lot of people do it. I do it when applicable, to bang on the Lakers, right? The Lakers are right now the 3 seed in the Western Conference. Ahead of Houston, ahead of Minnesota, ahead of Denver, ahead of the Warriors, the Clippers, anyone else you want to throw at me. It's OKC, San Antonio, and the LA Lakers. And I think home court matters when it comes to Los Angeles. I think that, there's still aura, mystique, and the Lakers fans are amazing. I don't think they get enough credit for being special and sensational. And I think the Lakers, the way they handled adversity and dealt with some dark losses and bad times, they kind of deserve credit here. I know the biggest topic for Los Angeles is the future when it comes to LeBron James. And this will be his last year in LA, right? Stop for a second if you can. I'm not burying the lead. I understand that this is all about LeBron and he's leaving, and big picture can't play with Luka. This team has recently been kind of fun to watch, and they deserve credit. We'll rip the Lakers, obviously, when applicable, but I think the Lakers absolutely deserve respect and attention. And I know it was, quote-unquote, just Chicago. I thought that was a big deal last night. All right, time for what I'm thinking, and I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking about. When it comes to a very underrated team this offseason in the NFL for free agency, the Cincinnati Bengals deserve a lot of credit. Cincinnati has loaded up on defense. They said goodbye to Trey Hendrickson. It's always easy to sit here and say, well, at the end of the day, the Bengals or the Bungles, they fouled it up. They were right with regards to Hendrickson. His agent screwed that up last year. They have added key pieces from winning teams. They just brought in Jonathan Allen last night to go with the 3 other defensive players they brought in. They plucked the safety from Kansas City. They do an excellent job at the end of the day, having the ability to go out and get a winner, a defensive end from Seattle, someone who won the Super Bowl. They're really smart. They're finding guys from teams who have won. The Cincinnati Bengals still have Joe Burrow, still have Jamar Chase, still have T. Higgins, and that means they're always going to be in the mix for everything. They needed winners and great players on defense. The Cincinnati Bengals have had the most underrated offseason of any team so far in the NFL. How about what we're betting tonight? And by the way, we've been hot. We're keeping score. And listen, I think that at the end of the day, you should be paying attention. Now, we're 5-2 here on the Schein Time record, right? Now, this is an upset special, right? So if I lose, it'll impact the record. But I'm taking UCLA. I love the way they're playing on defense. There's a great piece on UCLA in the California Post today. I'm picking them to beat Michigan State, all right? I'm taking Arizona, and I'm going to lay the 4.5. I told you I like them as well. And I also think that you're going to see Duke absolutely slaughter Clemson, and I think Florida is going to be able to take care of business as well. So that is something that I'm really fired up about. In terms of what I'm watching, look, I'm a Knicks fan. You know what that means? I hate the Indiana Pacers. Like, the Indiana Pacers make me sick. Like, they're vile to me. And Indiana is an unbelievable sports town, unbelievable basketball town. But just the thought of the Pacers, like people say, are the Nets the Knicks rival? Please get out of here. If you're, I'm in my late 40s, this uniform makes me barf. I also want to see at the end of the day, the Knicks start hot. It's been a minute since last Friday when they destroyed the Denver Nuggets. They were sloppy against the Lakers, sloppy against the Clippers, terrible against Utah early. Clarkson Company saved them. I really think at the end of the day, Jalen Brunson has a big-time game. I will be sitting down tonight with all the college hoops. I will be watching the New York Knicks and watching them beat the Pacers because I take such pride and I take such joy in that. By the way, one other betting pick for you. I like the Oilers to bounce back tonight. That's right. Oilers on the money line. You're welcome, America and Canada. What an unbelievable week. Our debut week here on Schein Time. Have an unbelievable weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.